Hey there, it's Fat Black Woman, and I am going to pose a question or a series of questions, and it might start or lead to some kind of argument, which is not my intent. This is more for my edification, if you will. So if I say something offensive, let me apologize out of the gate. And please blame it on my head and not my heart, because this is something that I am learning about and I'm not well versed about. So there it is. So I was listening or watching a post made by Funky Geneva, and he was talking about the trans women versus biological women uh, issue or yeah, issue is a word. And I use the term biological woman uh, for context. And also because it's the only way that I really know how and understand how to describe women who were born women, who accept that they are women, who live as women. So Funky Geneva brought up some points that I actually ask and brought up some questions that I actually ask myself on a daily basis or whenever conversations about the trans community come about. And he was addressing it to the trans women community because that's where the most discourse is taking place. And, part of it was speaking on behalf of women, which I didn't mind because he was being fair in terms of saying that women, those of us who were born with mammaries, with breasts, with the ability to be impregnated and carry a child and give birth to a child, those who of us who have ovaries and a uterus and suffer from fibroid tumors, and those of us who have fallopian tubes and experience menses and experience menopause and hot flashes, um, and the trans women who feel that when they were men, were born in the wrong body and identified themselves as women, and made the conscious decision to live their lives as women and are demanding that they are treated as such, as women. Okay, understood. So now we have the question of bathrooms, gender equality, sports. And sports seems to be a big pain point here. So, transgender women are asking or requesting, some are requesting to participate in women's sports. And biological women are having an issue or take issue with that. And to a degree, no, I do understand that because transgender women, though they identify uh, with being women, they still have the skeletal and muscular structure that they had as men. Yes, they've had the hormone treatment, and yes, they may have even been reassigned. Now, this is where you can correct me if I am wrong, please. However, they still have the muscular structure, the um, hormones, remnants of the testosterone, more testosterone than perhaps women, natural, biological women naturally have. And that gives them an advantage physically when competing against women. And is that fair? So take the case of the swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania, Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson is a trans woman. She attended the University of Pennsylvania and swam on the women's swim team. But before she made the transition, she was a he and swam on the men's team, or swam for men or whatever, competed as a man. He did not do well in competition. She, in competing against women, did very well in competition. Why is that? Why was that? So there lies an issue. And also, fairly speaking, do trans men have this same issue? Or would they have the same issue? I have not heard of an account where a trans man has been fighting or arguing to get on a professional football team or soccer team or basketball or baseball team. I have not heard of that. So if anyone has heard of that, please, by all means, direct me to where that is so I can do some research and come back to you correcting any statements. But I have not heard of it to date. And I believe that is because trans men were women, females, who believed they too were in the wrong body and identified themselves as men. And whether it was through hormone therapy or actual reassignment, they assumed the identity of a man. Are they physically, as trans men, physically able to compete on the playing field, whether it's the football field, the soccer field, the baseball diamond, the basketball court? Yeah, at all. Are they and survive that because they've got 300 and whatever pounds, 6'5" men running after them, knocking them down or whatever have you. So there's the question right there. So, the argument overall with regard to the trans community, overall with the LGBT community, is equality, equity, not being judged, being accepted, being shown respect, being shown courtesy as any other individual on God's green earth. And I will not and cannot fault them for that. And I will take any and every individual as they come and exhibit those behaviors or their God-given right to deserve my respect as a human being, for me to be civil to them as a human being, for me not to judge them as a human being, because that, as human beings, as children of God, they deserve that. Plus, look, everybody's got their something, so I don't need to concern myself about what their issue is. In truth, they are not the trans community, the LGBTQ community. They're not affecting my life one way or the other. What they do is truly their business, just like what I do is truly my business. So I really don't understand why we have this great big old fight. But I have questions. And I ask the LGBTQ, and in particular, the trans community, to give us some grace, allow us to be patient. As new as this is to you, and as traumatic as I would imagine this is to you. I mean, to feel that you are something that life, community, people, the mirror is telling you that you are not. I can only imagine what that does to you. And, I empathize with that. But we are also on the other side of this trying to understand what that looks like and how we, as intelligent, compassionate humans, can, if not help, get out of the way of whatever progress you can make. But the question then goes back to how are we really, how do we navigate this process? And I've heard that it is wrong for me to identify as a biological woman, and to say that a trans woman is not a real woman. I don't understand why that is wrong. I'm going to get some flack for this, I know, but just work with me here. I am a biological woman. That's who I am. You are a trans woman. That's who you are. Me and my biological sisters have experienced things as women that I don't know or think that you could necessarily relate to. So, and if we need to make a delineation, which apparently that seems to be a big deal these days, then us saying that we are a biological woman or a real woman when we are speaking of physicality and natural hormones, I don't think is wrong. If we are speaking in terms of nurturing, in terms of emotional characteristics that are assigned to women, then yes, I do believe that we are on equal playing field. If trans women exhibit the sympathy and the empathy that are normally assigned to women, the nurturing capability that are normally the intelligence that and the strength that is assigned to women, then we are women. We are all women. But if we are speaking in terms of the physical aspect of it, then I believe there has to be a delineation when having these conversations about biological women / real women and trans women. And again, I don't know when we would have these conversations, but I do think that they do come up, and we just need to be working on clarity if we're not already there in terms of how we do understand and therefore address, and at the same time how we protect one another. To the trans women out there, those of you and those thinking about making that transition and what that looks like. Being a woman is not easy, especially being a Black woman. So something for you to consider, just so you know. At the same time, I've also heard the argument about pregnant people. And I was perplexed by this many, many years ago because I was on the subway at one time and there's the sign that says, please give your seat up to pregnant people. And I was perplexed because I was like, well, people, not all people can be pregnant. Women can get pregnant, be pregnant, carry a child to term, or carry a child, whatever that is, give birth, or have an terminate a pregnancy in some states. So why would we have to say people? And again, that is a sticky subject. Now, there are trans men who have been impregnated, have carried a child to term, and have given birth. Okay, so that's where the people comes into place. Trans men. But that is where the delineation comes into play as well. Because a biological man / real man, and I'm not saying this to be facetious, cannot give birth. Just can't happen. He's not equipped. A trans man, because of their biology, can, in fact, give birth. I'm really not trying to pick a fight, but I just want to make it make sense. And what we are seeing here in the 21st century with all of the fighting and the back and forth and a who's a what and what's a who and all of that, what we are seeing is a new grouping, a new humanity that is taking shape. And that is the trans community. And because of their gender identity, we have now more genders than the traditional man, woman, male, female. Ideologies, ideations, whatever it is. So we then, as a society, as the original society, male and women, biological male and women who are the majority here, we have to accept that there is newness amongst us with regard to the genders. We have to respect them. We don't have to understand or accept them. And accept is a strong word because it's not up to you to accept them. They're human beings. Most of they're adults. If they don't live in your home, if they're not in your day-to-day experience, then it's really none of your business. But we do have to show them the same civil, human rights, courtesies, respect that we would show anyone else. They are human, which makes them the same as us. But then again, I'm speaking to America, so civility and humanity kind of flies in the face of the absurd, but in the face of what it is that I'm saying. But in a real world, where we call ourselves human and Christians, and we live in a Judeo-Christian world, our teachings tell us to accept and love everyone. So if you are a Christian, then you know to trust and love, to love and accept everyone. They are your neighbors. And we are also taught that judgment is the Lord's, not yours. So it is not up for you to judge them and their behavior, because if in fact it is a sin, and I am not saying that it is, I'm not saying that it's a sin at all, because I can't make that judgment, but if in fact it's a sin, like any other thing, if abortion is a sin, if whatever your sin is, whatever sin you commit is a sin, then we know that the Lord will take care of it. That's guaranteed that the Lord will deal with sinners. So we, rest assured, don't have to worry about that. So if you don't agree, you don't accept, chances are you don't know that you're dealing with a trans person one way or the other in your daily activities. So, you should just be focused on treating people with kindness and being a human being and being Christian, or Judeo-Christian or whatever in your walk anyway. But I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so my purpose for leaving, or for putting this out there, for creating this post, is purely out of education. And if I sound ignorant, please blame it on my head and not my heart. And understand that I am open to dialogue. I am open to understanding. And what I don't want to ever do is offend anyone unintentionally. There are times when I do plan on offending people. This is not one of them. I want to understand, and I want to know how best to communicate my thoughts and my opinions. for a couple of reasons. Because there may be a time when I need to defend and to protect. Because as humans, that's what we ought to do. As followers of Christ, for those Christians out there, that's what we need to do. So I can only do that if I am informed. So, you know, that's pretty much why I wanted to post this. And I thank Funky Deneva for posing the questions, because I do think that it's a valid question. And I think that when you pose these questions and you absolutely start the dialogue from a curious, educate me point of view, then that's when people are open to understanding and open to different points of views. And that's when you develop allies and you develop people who are familiar with the true narrative and are promoting and supporting, and eventually, minds will change and actions won't be so harsh, and we will move towards a more equal and understanding community. So that's all I've got. This is Fat Black Woman. Peace and blessings to you all.